Hello, everybody. Look who's here. Van Hansis.
Hello.
How are you? Lucas Jones on General Hospital. It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you as well.
We've had quite amount of interviews over the years, but not since GH.
Not since I've been on GH. I was actually just trying to think about like how long we've known each other for.
All I remember, I have to say that this is a fact for everybody. The best day was when you and I don't know if you remember this, we were doing an interview and the Supreme Court just ruled in favor of gay marriage.
Yes, I do remember that.
And I will never forget that you and I were talking when the ruling came down.
Wow. Yes, I do remember that. I do remember that.
Was that an As the World Turns or an East Side As the World Turn?
I know, I think that had to be Eastsiders.
Eastsiders.
I think that had to be when I was doing Eastsiders. We were talking about that. Because I remember meeting you. I think I first met you in person with Kit, who is the creator of Eastsiders, which is an amazing show I did. You can watch it on Netflix.
Watch on Netflix.
Yeah.
But we had known each other years before.
Yeah, but I don't know if maybe we had met at but I remember going to lunch with you and Kit. Yeah, in West Hollywood.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think we met at a Starbucks first.
Yes.
You were wearing a beanie.
Yeah, that tracks. I love like if I'm not feeling great about, the old hair, put on a beanie, put on a ball cap, cover that up.
Yeah, it was that. And then of course we had all the amazing interviews during your run as Luke on As which was the best of the best. Like,
I mean, it was amazing. Yeah. I loved that. Was my first job. That was my first, not even just soap job, but my first job. And I was so lucky that it was what it was and that it lasted as long as it did and opened a lot of really awesome doors for me.
And let's not forget Nuke.
Oh my God.
Look at you there with Jake.
Oh.
And,
oh my gosh.
And were you not part of Daytime History, First Gay Male Kiss?
Yes, I was. Yes.
I remember how old it was even back then. I was from then till now.
Yeah.
Actually kiss a man.
Mm-hmm.
That was what? 15?
Something like 15 years ago, yeah. Which is insane to think that it was 15 years ago. Maybe even longer. I don't even know. But I do remember it was, one of the cool things, with all this time passing is for the most part, that, Brad and Lucas kissed a couple times a few weeks ago. And then Lucas and Marco, Lucas got wasted and planted one on Marco. That it's just part of the story instead of an event. You know what I mean? I remember when, and I get it. Yeah. I get that, when it happened on World Turns because it was the first time. I remember they brought in Entertainment Tonight and there was and we were on, do you remember that show Talk Soup that Joel McHale used to? Yeah, I vividly remember feeling oh wow, I made it, because I used to love that show. And there was a clip of us doing it and then they superimposed just an old 30s short film of two trains crashing into each other. It's that's good. That's good.
But it was such the thing.
Yeah, it was such a big event. It was a big moment, and it was, so looking back, especially, I'm so grateful to have, sort of been at the center of that moment.
Oh, Jamila saying, Van, you were interviewed by Michael.
Oh my God. Yes. Hi, Jamila. Oh my gosh.
Was here with us.
Yes.
Yep. Yes, we did interview each other at the Emmys a few times.
Yeah.
Because you've been nominated, I believe, 5 times.
I have. Yeah, 3 for World Turns and 2 for Eastsiders.
We got
never won one though.
I can't believe that.
You know what? It's honestly, it's that's also just kind of crazy to think of too. I obviously I don't walk around and be I've been nominated for 5 Emmys, but sometimes I'll be I'll just think about it. I'm wow, I've been nominated for 5 Emmys. That's such a cool thing.
Well, maybe Lucas Jones is the ticket. Maybe
You never know.
Never know. Talk to me about coming to General Hospital. I believe you premiered in October last year.
Yes, I premiered it in October. I started in late August. I came in, I think, just for one day in late August. And then I came back, I think, the second week of September and was basically just there. Pretty much, lucky. I've been there most of the time. But yeah, it was it was kind of a whirlwind thing. Like I didn't have to audition, which was really nice.
I know, that's great.
Yeah, yeah, because so apparently what had happened is like I've told this story before, so if it's boring, just tell me and I'll stop. But I over the years, I've auditioned for the show a number of times. You put yourself on tape. It's with most shows these days, it's dummy side, so you don't know the character, you don't know what's actually happening. And I had happened to put myself on tape for General Hospital like maybe a week or two prior to this all coming around. And then I think separately, they were looking to bring Lucas back. And I don't think they were in the audition stages yet. And they were having like, the writers and Frank and Mark Tashner, the casting director, were like having a meeting about bringing Lucas back. And one of the writers would be like, well, my ideal would be like a Van Hansis type. And Mark was like, well, I just got a tape from him, so I think we could probably get him. And so then I got an email from my agents, and they were like, Mark and Frank want to have a meeting with you on Zoom. And that happened, and I waited for a couple weeks. I didn't hear anything, so I kind of assumed it was going in a different direction. So I emailed my agents and I was like, "Is it going in a different way?" And they were like, "No, you're still the choice. They just need to lock it in and figure it out." And they did, and I'm so grateful that it all happened.
Oh, great! When I heard you playing Lucas, I was like, "Oh, are we all that stupid? Like, why didn't we?" Like,
well, I don't know. I've been out of the daytime world for a long time.
I know you have. I didn't know if we'd ever see you again in the daytime world.
I didn't know if we would either.
Right.
And I was honestly like, it just kind of like, came out of, like I mentioned, came out of left field, and it's just like it's been such a blessing in so many ways. And it really like, like I'm not the type of person who has like a 5-year plan. I don't even have like a week plan. I just kind of go with whatever's happening. Right. So for this to have happened, and especially, after so long being gone, from daytime, I'm just like taking each day as they come. And I'm just so happy and grateful for every day I get to work and want to do my best. And I don't have any, when you're younger, you have all this like, I need to do this, and then it'll help me get to A and B and C and D and all that. And I'm just at this point, just like, I'm chilling. I'm happy. Yeah. Yeah.
Lucas is a gay character.
Yeah.
And my question for you, and I think we talked about this years ago, so I want to know, like, now, do you think it's good that, gay members of the LGBT community play gay roles, and they should go to gay people as opposed to straight actors? Because there's been different conversations. Or is the best role?
I'm of a couple different minds of that. I think that first off, I think trans characters need to be played by trans actors. So I think that that's its own. And I think bar none, don't hire cis actors in trans roles. However, with gay characters, I personally just feel like a little looser about it. I think that gay actors probably can connect in with the characters to a deeper degree. That being said, if the character is about their sexuality, then yeah. But on the flip side, you know, I think that like I've worked with so many straight actors who are playing gay characters who are great and they're doing fantastic work. And, you know, but there is something to be said, like, you know, Adrian, who plays Marco on the show, he's gay. And I was thinking back, yeah, there he is. I think he's outside of East Siders, I think he's the first gay actor I've worked with in that capacity, which to me is kind of strange. You know what I mean? Like Eric and Jake from World Turns were both straight, Perry's straight, you know, and they're all great. And so I don't know. I'm of different minds about it. But then I also like, you know, when you look at like television, I think is one thing, but when you're looking at movies and opening box office, there are no, it's sad, but I don't think there's any gay actors who can open a film. But so when there's a gay film, it goes to a straight actor because they're looking at the bottom line, which is just, I think, something that's just messed up in society, not necessarily that film's fault or whatever. But like, you know, I'm trying to think like, I don't know, you know, like with All of Us Strangers with Andrew Scott, like that wasn't a blockbuster or anything, but it was a specifically gay movie. And I can't think of a better actor than him to play that role. And I don't know if that has anything to do with his sexuality or just he's one of the most talented actors alive right now. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm of two minds. And sometimes my mind changes. I will say, like, you know, I think out of the guys who tested for Marco, I think about half of them were gay and half were straight. And they were all great and they all, you know, did great stuff with it. But, you know, I think there's an ease as a gay actor myself working with another gay actor that I don't have to feel like, oh, you're kissing a guy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but then there's also like Jake Silbermann, who played Noah on World Turns. He's remained one of my closest friends, and he has never had a fucking issue. Can I swear? Sorry. I just did. I won't again. He's like, there was never, you know, like we played boyfriends for years and years, and there was never a moment of him being like, oh, this is tough. Oh, now I got to kiss a guy, blah, blah, blah. He was, because it's a profession, you're a professional, you know?
Right.
How
do you feel about the fact that now for you, are you good with like, oh, I'm going to play a gay role and I don't care?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're good. If you're playing gay role, yeah.
I'm good. I don't care.
Yeah.
No. Like I like I'm out publicly. It doesn't matter. I'm not protecting an image. I don't think. Yeah. I don't know. I don't care. Like it just. I don't know. Like.
But isn't that great? Isn't that great?
Yeah, it is great, and it is something that's changed. You know, in the last 15 years. Like I remember playing Luke. There were so many people being like, "Don't come out, don't come out." I was out publicly and everything. You know, but I love that that's changed, and you know, has it? And like, I'm not like I read something somewhere that like Matt Bomer was gonna be Superman, and then they found out that he was gay, and I'm not at that level. You know what I mean? And also, like, I'm not auditioning for Superman, so I don't think it affects me, maybe as it might some of, you know, these guys who are, you know, who are auditioning for leads in huge franchises, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, at this point in my career, I really couldn't. Couldn't care less. I was gonna say another swear, but I didn't.
I mean, it's really great to talk to you later about this in your career.
Yeah.
Talked about it early. It was like, oh,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It was like everything was such a thing, you know.
And I think especially now with the attacks coming on the LGBT plus community, it's important for that representation to be there. And I think it's maybe more genuine if people see actors who are a part of that community playing those characters. But I don't think it needs to be like you know, a set in stone thing.
Okay. Kevin Hanna, 2 questions for Van. Van, can share memories working with the late Elizabeth Hubbard.
Uh-huh.
And before Van joined the soaps, was he ever a fan? And what soaps did he watch? Okay,
Okay.
Liz Hubbard first.
Liz Hubbard first. Liz was just fabulous. I mean, that's the word that she was. I said this, I think, in an interview with Alan Locker when I just started. We were talking about Liz, and she's exactly what you think she would be. She's a firecracker. She's hilarious. She was so intelligent, so worldly. You know, she was like a throwback to like those grand dames from the 50s or the 60s. Yeah, like I told a specific story on Alan's YouTube, so I want to tell something different. Oh, I remember there's one scene where she was like pruning bushes or something, and she had those big pruning shears, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And like, I remember it was with Elena Good, who played Jade, and Jade was like a troublemaker in town, and she was hooking up with Will, I think, and I don't know why, but Liz didn't like that, and she had to like threaten her with the shears, and then they had to retape it. But she like took the shears and like went down to like, you know, and went, and I remember dying laughing, and they're like, cut, we can't do that, Liz, we can't do that. And it was just like this spontaneous thing, and it was so funny. And then, no, I actually did not watch soaps growing up. I knew nothing about soaps. Like was not a soap family, but my dad, when he was growing up, he told me this story once where he came home from school and his mother was sobbing about something. She was sobbing. And he was like, "Oh my God, Mom, what's wrong? What's wrong?" And she talked about this little boy that got kidnapped. And my dad was like, I don't know that kid. Does he go to my school? Da, da, da. And she was like, and it was some soap she was watching. And she was losing her mind about it. Yeah. And so my dad, when I think when I got As the World Turns, my dad told me that story because that was his connection to soaps, that he literally thought like a family friend had been kidnapped with how his mother was reacting to it. But not knowing soaps, I will say I grew up being a comics reader, like Marvel, you know, specifically the X-Men. And when I started on As the World Turns, and to this day, my connection is through the X-Men, because in the end, you know, they can have the battles, the fights, whatever, but you're like, the more intriguing stuff is, you know, the will they won't they with like Wolverine and Jean and the Cyclops triangle and all of the fandoms that happen for all the different characters. And you know, that's the meat and potatoes, especially in the 80s and 90s of X-Men comics. Was it's a soap opera that just happens to have superheroes on it.
So you were in by osmosis, basically.
I was in by osmosis. I understood the world. Yeah. Once I got in, I was like, oh, this is just like the X-Men, except nobody has superpowers.
So one of the things I love that you've done with Lucas.
There I am.
There you are. You have brought such great humor to the character in the best way.
Thank you.
Very like, because there's a bit of you, kind of I feel like it's a bit of your humor a little bit in it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm a hilarious person.
No, but he's great. He's got like, you know, he's very self-effacing.
Yeah.
It's great. Did you try to put that in, or did they say play that more?
I think it was kind of like, I forget the term, but I think it's something that naturally I just kind of brought to it, that they then saw and then started sort of building that for me. And yeah, like I love that Lucas gets to have a sense of humor. Like I don't think he's like I think like Spinelli is like a funny character. I don't think Lucas is necessarily that, but I do think that it's like you like I know tons of people in my daily life who I wouldn't be like, oh, like the first thing off the top of my head wouldn't be like they're funny, but I would like be like, oh yeah, they've got a really good sense of humor. And I think Lucas does. And I think that, you know, I think that that coming in and sort of, you know, making the character your own, I think that part of it is also just bringing yourself to it in a way, right? Like you're never going to be the other actors who played the character. And so I think that letting him have a sense of humor and letting him kind of be able to, because also there's so much of Lucas with, he's so tied into so many different people on the show that a lot of times he's close enough with so many people that he can be a sounding board. So I think that, you know, like lots of times I'll get like scenes that are sort of like recapping what's going on. And I think in order to keep spark in that, I think a lot of times humor can help. Right. And then also the fact that these characters live in this insane world, like the stuff that happens to these people is absolutely insane. But it's also, you don't want to comment on that. But in order to get through that, I think you got to have a sense of humor about things. And then also, obviously I've thought about this. I think the other thing is I think that Lucas is very much in a place of sort of PTSD coming back to town, you know, after everything that happened with Brad and Wiley and all of that stuff. And I think part of his coping mechanism is to smile through it all.
And deflect.
Yeah, and deflect. Yeah.
The funniest thing, though, was, of course, was it to Maxie when you were explaining about Marco? Oh, yeah, it was great. I threw up all over him.
Oh, yeah. That was, I think, it was either Maxie or Elizabeth.
And he's like, yes. Yeah, it was great. I kissed a hot guy and then I threw up all.
Yeah. But that also, the way that was written as a comedic 3.
Okay.
Which is like a thing in writing of like, this great thing happened, and then I puked all over him, right? And you see that in comedy all the time. And so the fact that they wrote that like that's kind of like, sometimes I look at scripts as like music notes of like, this is what we want to hit. How we're going to hit it is going to be our own unique way. But that is a built-in joke that they wrote. So I think you kind of, you know, if you can recognize that, you're going to want to hit it.
It was great.
It was fun. I like that. Yeah. I just loved the fact that when he meets Marco, the first thing he does is like vomit all over him. I just think
I love that. And I love the fact that he let himself get drunk and then just told the complete stranger his entire history.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
Right. Because they had to find a way in. So later, when this whatever happens, it, you know. Yeah.
And also it's just like, I like that. Like that was really fun stuff to play because also it was a side of Lucas that we haven't seen. He seems to me to be very kind of straight-laced, you know, strong moral code, all of that stuff. So for him just to get wasted and sloppy and kind of embarrassing was really, really fun. It was a cool flip side to play.
So the story that I've read in many interviews with you is you've known Adrian from 20 years ago. You guys met at Williamstown
Theater Festival. It used to be like this really awesome like theater festival that's run for years and years. Very prestigious, you know.
Very prestigious.
Right? Yeah.
And then you guys knew each other, and then did you first see him again in testing?
No. So he moved to Los Angeles, I think. Because I was at Williamstown, I think it was the year after college, and I think it was his year. I don't know what year he graduated. But I was in New York for most of the time, and he was in LA for the most of the time. But we like when I was doing East Siders, for instance, I'd come into LA and I would shoot there. Pardon me, and Kit and John are very connected with like the LA gay scene, so like I'd go out with Kit and John or with other cast members from East Siders, and I'd see Adrian about, like I think he was a bartender at a place in West Hollywood, and I would see him and we'd run into each other and we'd always be like, oh my God, how are you? So good, catching up, but it was never like we were never like, I never had his phone number or anything. It was just like, oh, I know you. So I had seen him, here and there through the years, but nothing at this level of like how we're, working together now.
Did you get any input in who you thought would be great for the role?
No, I mean,
Did they?
So
Who do you think? They didn't ask you like who you thought of the people that tested, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, they asked me that, but I don't think they're like being like, what does Van want? You know what I mean? Like I think like so I did 2 auditions when they get to the final round. I did like just a reading opposite I think the final like 12 guys at the end of December, and then they screen tested, I believe, 4 guys in January. And so when you screen test, that's like you're actually doing a real scene of the show. So it's like on set, hair and makeup, wardrobe, and it's like a scene that the writers write that is not going to be. It's just a scene, yeah, but it's just get an idea of the character. And so the scene was with it was all the different Marcos, and it was with me and Laura. And so we just did the scene once with each of them. We would have a rehearsal up in Frank's office and then come down to set, do the scene once, and that was that. And they do it at the end of a shooting day. So like the guys had gotten there probably at like, I don't know, 3, and we probably got down to set at like 8:30 at night. So they had a lot of time to like,
nerved up.
Yeah. And all 4 of them did such a fantastic job. But Frank did ask, like, who was, who did you respond to? And obviously, and it's not just that I knew Adrian. I do think that for what they were looking for, he's the best for the job. But I don't think it was in any sort of way of like, you have any sway, Van. I think it was just like, who do you like? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not the one hiring.
I'm not the one hiring. No.
So where do you hope? We know that potentially this guy's the new man for him because it's been written about all over the place. Where do you hope this goes? Do you want Lucas to fall in love or be guarded? Like, what do you want for him?
I want it. Okay, if I had my way, because again, I don't write it. I just do it. I don't cast it. I don't write it. I want it to be a soap opera romance. Like, so I want, there to be some positive good things, but you can't keep that forever in daytime. So there's got to be some stuff that comes up. There's got to be some conflict in there. I haven't played Lucas in any sort of romantic situation really, because even the stuff there was a little bit of stuff with Brad, like at the Valentine's Day party or whatever, but he's so guarded with Brad. There was so much history. I kind of would like to see, Lucas. I think he has to be guarded to an extent with everything that happened, right? With, the betrayal of Brad lying about his child that's not something that you get over, and realizing that your child actually died and you've been raising. God, that was like my second day. Wow.
Your second day.
That's before I got a haircut.
Before you got a haircut, and there you are with Wiley.
Yeah, that's my and Caitlin. She's lovely. So I think that like what Lucas must have gone through would be horrible. So I think, and he even says, and like he said when he met Marco, that he hasn't been dating. He hasn't opened that part of himself up. So I think for somebody to do that, especially after something as traumatic as what happened to him, there's going to be a level of guardedness. But I would like seeing Lucas in like romantic situation. Right.
That hopefully has legs to it.
Exactly. There's got to be, that's what, in order for it to work at some point, there has to be conflict. It can't just be smooth sailing,
So you got to work with Miles. And everybody's like, she's your Aunt Ava on this show.
She's my Aunt Ava. Mm-hmm.
So I know I read she was so excited to see you, and she didn't know.
Yep.
You didn't know you were coming to the show, and then you
No.
were there.
No.
And what can you say about Mara? Is it still like it was before working with her? Like
It's better.
Yeah.
It's like so when I was on As the World Turns, I don't really think I maybe had like 1 or 2 scenes with her. We were never in the same story. But she's just so smart and she's so funny. Speaking of characters who bring humor to a role that's not like a funny role, she kills me. Like
Sure.
I don't think I there's this I was watching I can't it hasn't aired yet, but it's just this one tiny little moment where it's not spoiling anything, where her character is in a place where she doesn't really like want to be. And I remember just the way she like looked at the set, like as she walks in, it was just so fucking so brilliant of just it was a subtle thing that you probably won't even catch, but the way she quickly looked around the space. I mean, she's so good. She's so good. And getting to work with her is so much fun because, you know, she never does anything the same way twice. Yet she hits all of her marks. She really cares about her character, and she cares about the other characters. Like I remember seeing that we were in. She was like, I don't think like Lucas would talk to Ava this way, or I don't, and it's like she knows the relationships, and she's just cool. She's just a really cool lady.
Really cool.
Yeah, and I think also like being older now, like when I was on World Turns, I was like in my early 20s for, most of it. And there's a little bit of like, with the established people, like, well, I don't know you. I'm young, blah, blah, blah. And I'm also just not one that if I don't know somebody, I'm not gonna, I'm not a super outgoing person generally, or at least back then, especially I wasn't, because also I was, especially at the beginning, I was so scared. It was my first job, but like, just being able to like chat between takes or in, in the green room or dressing room. I don't know. She's lovely. And I remember like watching her 15 years ago and being like, God, she's good. And
did you guys ever talk about the ending of As the World Turns, how your two characters ended? Because remember, we have, poor Luke did not get a happy ending.
Did not get a happy ending. And actually, Gene, Reed died.
It was the saddest thing ever.
Wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Man, I haven't seen that photo ever. I don't.
This photo always really brings me back, and it was such a beautiful performance by you.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was really so Jean, the head writer, she talked about Passanante. Yeah, she talked about that in an interview, and she I haven't seen the interview or read it, but she was like so I'm not quoting her or anything, but she recognizes that was a mistake to not give Luke a happy ending, and I can totally see that. That being said, it was so fun playing what I got to play. It was
amazing.
It was so amazing. Yeah. And then I think they've just announced another actor who is on the show joining, right?
On GH?
Yeah.
I think so.
Daniel Cosgrove. He started it. Okay. Yeah, perfect. So I'm not, oh God, my temperature just raised so much. Yeah, I was like, did I just ruin it? No.
Is on, we're watching him.
Yeah. So Daniel, when he started shooting, I was like, oh my God, it's Daniel. And we were chatting, and it's been so long. Like I haven't had any scenes with him on GH yet. But it has been so long since World Turns. I was like, who did you play? I was like, I felt like we had scenes together. He was like, yeah, I forget his character's name. He was like, so-and-so. I was like, oh my God, your heart was in, or Reed's heart was in your, like my last scene. And this is very weird. So my last scene was listening with a stethoscope
to his heart. Chris was his heart.
Yeah, no, to Reed's heart in Chris's chest.
Yes.
Yeah. So my last scene was with Daniel Cosgrove and stethoscope, and Lucas is a doctor. I mean, I'm just saying the world might work in mysterious ways. You know what I mean?
Yes. No, it's all around. It's insane.
It's all come around.
But I remember wasn't was Terry Khan in the scene too?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember
he was there.
Can I just listen to his heart?
And yeah.
At the scope to listen to Reed's heart beating Chris's chest.
Yeah.
How did you?
I mean, yeah. I totally get, like, you know, that Luke should have had a happy ending, and it was weird that he was the only character, I think, that didn't. But that is some good writing. I mean, that's
right at the end. Yes. Yes. It was Luke just watching, kind of like it was. He didn't have anything happen. It was kind of like he just. But then in real life, that could be too. Like it's just he was such a beloved character.
Yeah.
That you just didn't want to see him like lost, I guess.
Yeah, and you know what? I think he's fine somewhere out there in Oakdale. I think he's probably doing some shady stuff, taking after Damien. But I think he's probably very happy, and I would say he and Noah probably got back together.
Aren't these your
Oh, yeah, that's so Paolo and Noelle and John. Yeah. And then Noelle covered or took over for Martha, who played Lily for years and years and years. Yeah, so Paolo is my birth father. John is my adopted father.
Right. Were they fun to work with?
Oh my God. All of them, yes. Yeah. What a good looking set of parents I have also, right? Yeah. Paolo was hilarious. Noelle was so sweet. John was wonderful. Martha was great. They were all great.
EK, I'm curious how often you fly back and forth between New York and LA to film General Hospital.
That is a very good question. They have been very good about, when I go there, that I'm going to be there for a chunk of time and, like, you know, working a lot. I think I've flown back and forth since I started. I don't like 8 times. I'm flying back and forth a lot, but it's chunks. Yeah. So the last time, so I just came back to New York a couple days ago, and I had been in LA for a month. So I've been spending most of my time out in LA, which I actually love. I never thought I would, but I'm really enjoying LA. Yeah.
It took me. I was a New Yorker. It took years to get finally. Once I was here, I had the 5-year mark of living here consistently, and I kept telling everybody I hate it here. I hate it here. And then finally, by the 5th or 6th year of living here, I'm like, you know what? It's okay.
Yeah. I lived out there for a couple of years way back, like right after As the World Turns ended, and I hated it. But now I'm like, there's something to be said for all of it. Like the weather, the space. It's a lot chiller than New York is. I don't know. I like hiking now. So I fly back and forth. You know, whenever they need me. But I am, you know, I do get to, for the most part. Oh, I think, this is Cece. Hey, Cece.
How old is Cece?
Cece's 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I had black cats, Annabelle and Chimbley for the longest. Yeah, you remember? Yeah, God, I had them for 19 years.
Oh.
And they passed within a month of each other in the middle of COVID, and it ruined me. Yeah. So yeah, and then so both my Annabelle and Chimbley, Annie and Chims, were both black cats, and Chimbley died second. And so I was at the vet picking up his ashes, and the vet tech comes in, and this is really manipulative, but in the end, I'm glad she did it. And she's holding this little black kitten. And she was like, "Hey, I'm so sorry for your loss. Just, wanted to see if you wanted to hold this cat, because she also worked at a rescue, and there was these kittens, like a litter of kittens that were found in a construction site, and their mom was feral, and Cece was the one that she had brought in, and she had a sister who we named Betty, but they were the only two of the litter that were, or they were the first two that were able to be adopted out. So this vet tech, she's like, just, you want to hold it? They're looking for a foster, the two of them. So we ended up fostering them, and yeah, and
wait, so you have both?
I've got two sisters. There was like 5 kittens in the litter, but the other 3 weren't. They were still too feral to be adopted, but we adopted these 2. Yeah, so Cece's all black, and Betty, who's sitting right over there, she's like a tuxedo. She's got like white. Yeah.
Do they never leave your side, or are they very independent?
They're very weird. They're very cuddly and stuff, but they're also just like such little weirdos. Like, I don't know. Everybody thinks their cat is weird, but like my cat, we've got these like windows that go like floor to ceiling, and she somehow jumped up and like was hanging at the top of it. I don't know how she got that high, and she was just hanging on the window ledge. And it's like, we got high ceilings, so that's like a 8-foot drop or something, and she was just hanging there, just like a good, like, I was on the phone to my parents. I was like, oh my god, I was like, Cece just, I don't know, like we think that the ghost of Annie, who is my cat who passed, who looks just like Cece, we think that Annie is haunting her. Yeah.
Lori is asking, hi Ben, I'm so happy to see you back on our daytime screen. I've been a fan of yours since ADWD days. I was so happy to hear you are the new Lucas. I love the chemistry you have with everyone.
Thank you.
You feel you have chemistry with everyone?
I don't, it's not something I think about. I love working with everyone I work with. Yeah. I love working with Laura so much. Yeah, so I think it's like, if you're having a good time, chemistry will build itself. And if also, one of the things that I think is really important as an actor, not to get into like all actory or whatever, but you've got to really invest in the other person. You've got to throw it on the other person. And so I think that I remember in some acting class I was in, they were like, if you want to build chemistry, because you can't really build chemistry, but like, especially with people you don't know, find one thing immediately off the bat that you like about that person. Whether it's they look like they have kind eyes, or you like their smile, or, they've got cool style, or whatever it is, and just latch onto that and find something to like. And then that will give positive energy. But then if you need to have like negative energy, find something about that person that you really don't like and lean into that. Yeah. So that's a little, trick that I use. But then especially I think, starting a new job, you can get so in your head. And so when I start feeling that way, I just throw it on the other person as much as possible. Yeah, just make it obscene about them.
Right. And did you know that you were, when they told you, like, there's a scene where you look at Bobby's and that you are Nurse Bobby's son?
Yes. So I did research on the character. I looked up, I didn't watch much of, what the other actors, what Ryan did with it. Just because I didn't want to get that in my head. But everybody was, so I did my research, but also Lucas being connected to so many different people. There's been so much, like, whenever I would get a script which would have a new name in it of like somebody I'm talking about, I'd look up who they were. And then I had so many like great, like, from Frank to the directors to the other actors, whenever I would have a question, everybody would fill me in on who it is that we're talking about, or how we know each other, or, whatever it might be. It's such an awesome, like, fun place to work. And everybody is so supportive and so helpful, especially when I was new. And like, I remember one day I counted how many names I had to say in like one episode. It was like eight or nine different people, and none of whom I had ever met. I think it was when we were looking for a kidney transplant or before Sam died. And I was like talking about these people who had been on the characters who haven't been on the show for a long time. And I was like, oh my God, who is this now? I was like, okay, that's an aunt of mine, or this is, so and so. Yeah, but there's definitely a lot of asking questions if I don't know. But I definitely knew everything about Bobby and about, that the restaurant wasn't Bobby's, but then it was called Bobby's and in honor of her and all that.
And she started off as a hooker years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, that's new. I did not know that.
Yes, Bobby was a prostitute when
I didn't know that.
Oh. Yeah, and she had a really tough time, and she came out of the wrong side of the tracks with Luke, because Luke was her big brother, and they incorporated it into her memorial episode.
Okay,
and she was helping girls escape the life in Europe. Like they tied it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. So.
Yeah, see, but that's it. You learn something new every day. I thought she was like a head nurse.
She was the head nurse, but
she's a multitudes. She contains multitudes.
A multitude. What do you think about being part of a show that's celebrating their 62nd anniversary tomorrow?
Oh my gosh! I mean, that's just
General Hospital. As World Turns was iconic enough, but
yeah,
age has lasted longer. Obviously,
yeah. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's like, you just think about something that they did recently with the Green Room. So Green Room, if you don't know, is like, it's like a little for people. It's like a hangout. Yeah, it's like a hangout room for actors and crew and stuff. They have them in theaters. They've got them in studios and stuff. And it's just like the coffee machines are there, and you can get snacks, and there's couches everywhere. So they recently put up all of these posters of just characters from the beginning. Like obviously some of them were from, the 60s, the 50s, whatever. And like there's one of Elizabeth Taylor, and I was like, wait, she was on this show? Like, yeah. And so when they put up all of those, those posters, it's just so cool. Like just the lives that these characters have lived and that it's been such a staple for so many people's lives. It's really, it's an honor, like, cause I'll like look up an actor sometimes and like, just to like, I'll see them in something, I'll like them and I'll look them up and I'll be like, they were on some show that maybe was around in the 90s or whatever that I'd never heard of, that lasted like 4 seasons or something, was a hit show back then. And that's amazing. And it's, such an accomplishment, but to have 62 is really, like, to me, it's this, I think of it as like, that's like, what, like twice as long as The Simpsons? And I think of, because I remember being a kid watching The Simpsons, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I remember sitting down and watching The Simpsons with my dad when I was a kid. And to think that, and to this day, like sometimes when I'm like, feeling blue or whatever, I'll turn on The Simpsons, like watch a new episode, and just, it's like comfort food. And so for something to be two Simpsonses, that's a big accomplishment.
Talk to me about playing a doctor. Now, so far I think there's an episode today. I haven't seen it yet, but he's about to tell Molly some news too.
Yeah.
It's always like, I have something to tell you.
Yeah. There's, yes.
Playing the doctor. Do you like playing the doctor? And has there been any like doctorese language that has tripped you up?
Yes. Playing a doctor, I really like playing a doctor. I've never played a doctor before. And like, honestly, I never even really auditioned for doctors that much because, for a creative industry, there's like, you're not, what I am bringing to the table is not what people are like, oh, a doctor. Even though I have friends who act like me who are doctors, right? It's not like a TV doctor. So having to do the jargon stuff, I know whenever I get that, I've got to, again, like my prep on that has to be 100%. Like you've just got to, it's got to be backwards, forwards, everything. It's very hard because a lot of times also like when you're in surgery scenes or whatever, it's like with Sam, for instance, when she died, not only was it all of this doctor jargon, but it was also it's your sister. And so the stakes are so high. And so it's I'm not gonna lie, it's tough. But it's a challenge that I'm happy to have. But it is definitely like, it's like, I know when those days come up that it's gonna be like whatever, if I have any plans a couple days ahead of that, they're getting canceled, and I'm gonna be saying this doctor stuff so it sounds like somebody who knows what they're talking about. Because when I used to teach, I would teach like jargony days at my studio that I taught at, and like something that I would say to the students is like, yeah, this is a life and death situation a lot of the times, but it's also Tuesday. And I would, like, this is just what these people deal with. So to me, like, if I think about like a friend of mine's dad is an ER surgeon in real life, and I've never seen, a motorcycle, somebody in a motorcycle accident, right? Mia's van, but he probably has dozens, if not hundreds of times. So his reaction to that is going to be very different, and also his trained reaction to it, than most of us. So yeah, so doctor stuff is tough. It's hard.
It's because you're now the guy that comes into the scene and goes, I have some bad news.
No, see, but that's okay. That's fine. And the good thing, like the hard stuff is when you're actually doing the procedures. And one of the things that I love that they have is every time I've had to do that stuff, when like one of the nurses who is working with you is an actual nurse. And so it's them usually who's kind of directing the scene. Like the director will even be like, okay, so what are we doing this right? And the nurse will be like, yeah, or they'll literally teach you how to hold things, which is so great to have that, to have somebody on set who actually can give you the nitty gritty of like what everything is.
You worked with Larry Brigman, one of the great, and Don Hastings was doctors.
Yes.
As the world turns, how do you think they were as doctors?
Oh God, they're icons. They were great. Icons. Well, I mean, who would I be if I was like, they're okay? No, it's Larry Brigman and Don Hastings. Come on.
I thought Larry Brigman was one of the greatest actors ever.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? You agree with me?
Yeah.
And Don, I just heard, was the funniest one of all.
Warm, just very funny, but like that, like kind of like not dad humor, but just like really quiet humor. Like he would just say something and he'd be like, that was very funny, and kind of unexpected coming out of, somebody as sort of like regal and, and grandfatherly as he was.
Do you think you'd like to see Lucas somehow be a father again after the whole Wiley debacle? Or
I don't know, not yet. I mean, at some point, yeah, definitely at some point, but I don't know if he's ready yet.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, if that happens, I would love to play it. I've never played a father before. Which is eventually you get to the age where it's like I'm auditioning for dads now. I've auditioned for fathers.
Not that I'm auditioning for dads, but I'm just saying, everybody's like, do you have any children? To me, right? Like,
yeah.
And I go, no. They go, why don't you have any children? I'm like, I don't. Like it just.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't want one. Yeah. Yeah. People ask me that too. They're like, any kids? I'm like, no.
I'm like, no, I don't want
any. No, God, no.
I'm like, yeah, I don't want a kid.
I mean, honestly, like, I don't know how I'd be able to do what I do with a kid. I couldn't. There's no way I could be living the life I'm living. I mean, I'm not sure I love kids. I like them. Like, I like my friends' kids. They're great, but I also really like being like, okay, take your kid back. You know what I mean?
Now, we can tease that this week Marco is back on the screen.
Yes, Marco is back.
Marco is back, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Now, I just want to say, if somehow we got a hold of Lucas, what do you think Lucas would do? Would Lucas meet up with him? I don't
know. I mean, I think Lucas's, hopefully his puking days are done. Hopefully that's like a one and done special skills thing that he's got going on. I think Lucas. Okay, so Marco's coming back. We know that. Yeah. So I think Lucas. is probably, and he said it, to Elizabeth and to Maxie and everything. Yeah, Lucas is mortified about what went down in Miami. So I think, with Marco coming back, if Marco and Lucas see each other, I think Lucas probably feels like Marco has seen him at his absolute worst and is probably kind of embarrassed by that.
I was also going to say, did they reveal, because he dropped his card on the floor, the corporate credit card. Did he ever say he was a lawyer to him?
No, I don't think so. Maybe. I don't think.
We know in the press it was always positioned when he came to the show he was a lawyer.
Yeah.
But
I don't.
Lucas knows that.
He might. I don't know. I honestly, I'm trying to think of when he finds that out. He might have said something to Miami, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he did say something to Miami. I think he did. Yeah, I think he did.
Man.
Oh my God. I was just talking about that night with Cindy. Yeah, because I was at a diner in LA and True Colors came on. And I was like, oh, she sang this to me once. They're like, what? Yeah. Yeah, that was, oh my God. It's all a weird fever dream.
Isn't it? It must be.
Yeah. There's a picture of me and Cyndi Lauper. And Jake, it's just such a weird.
I have a Cyndi Lauper story.
What? Let me hear it.
So I used to work at MCA Records in New York in the publicity department.
Yeah.
Elton John was one of our artists.
Okay.
He had a 5-night stand at Madison Square Garden. I had to help put on the party for Elton John as part of my job, the after party of the 5 night. My boss was best friends with Tracy Ullman and Cyndi Lauper. So on the limousine ride over to the party, it was me, Cyndi Lauper, Tracy Ullman, and my boss.
Oh my God. That's like a car of icons.
Cyndi Lauper, Tracy Ullman. I mean, insane, right?
That's amazing. I didn't know Tracy Ullman and Cyndi Lauper were friends, but it all makes sense to me. Right? Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Years ago, like in the 80s, right?
Oh wow. That's a nice connection. So
you guys were so good together in this.
Okay, yeah, that's Eastsiders.
Eastsiders.
Yes, I love Eastsiders so much.
Do you love it because it was so open? It was like so open about so many things, and it really showed a complexity of her relationship, right?
Yeah, I loved all of that about it. I also loved. I just think Kit is such an amazing writer, and he has a new show out right now called Unconventional. It's on the streaming platform. Is it called Reverie? Do you know?
I don't know.
Look up Unconventional. It's I don't know what streaming platform it's on, but it's Kit's follow-up to Eastsiders, and I saw I went to the premiere of it. It's amazing. I just loved. I don't know. I remember getting the script for the first episode and just being like, "Who wrote this? What is this?" And just being like immediately, just being like, "Yes, no matter what." No matter, and it started off, and it was just such an inspirational thing because it started off literally like on YouTube, and it ended up on Netflix. And it's all Kit starred in it, directed, I think almost every episode, wrote it, and he was just such he's such a wonderful guy to work with. His husband John was in it, was a producer on it, is amazing. Just such an awesome, it was very I don't know, it felt like we're gonna get the band together, and it was just so it was so just scrappy, and being a part of something just we shot a whole season driving across the country, stealing shots wherever we could. We went to Mount Rushmore I remember being at Mount Rushmore, and you're not supposed to film there, but they're like, okay, just go up there and act like you're having fun, and and we were in and out of Mount Rushmore in I think 35 minutes because we had to get on the road, and I just also I had never done the cross country road trip before, and that to this day remains one of my just the most amazing memories of just driving across the country and also filming something as we did it. Yeah.
So what can we tease coming up for Lucas? We should say more hospital drama he'll be in the middle of.
Yep, there's that. I mean, Marco is coming to town, and I would assume Lucas would see him.
He's coming shortly here.
I would assume that's happening. Yeah.
Now, also, he does not like Brennan.
Marco does not like Brennan.
No, you don't.
Oh, I don't like Brennan. I'm like, I don't know if Marco's met Brennan. Yes. Lucas does not like Brennan. Lucas does not like Brennan.
Lucas does not like
Brennan. Yes. Well, Lucas doesn't trust Brennan for his sister. He's very protective of Carly. And, from what I gather, Carly is not, she's not afraid of blowing up her life here and there. And I think Lucas is a lot more, like I said, a little stoic, a little play by the book than Carly is. So I think that all this stuff with Brennan is, another great line that they had, I think it aired recently. Lucas was like, "Can you just date a dentist?" Like with Carly, yeah. So there's the Brennan stuff with Carly, Marco's in town, doctory stuff coming up. You know what? I don't watch the show that much, or I'll go on a binge on Hulu. So I'm not caught up with what's airing now. Like every 2 or 3 weeks, I'll just watch. Yeah, and I'll just binge it. So I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to ruin anything.
All I know is the Rick Elizabeth car crash. That's
out. Okay, that happens. Yeah,
that happens.
Yeah. So then you'll get to see some of my doctoring coming up soon. I gotta also say, Rick Hurst is one of my new favorite people. He is so funny. Whenever and I haven't had many scenes with him, but whenever I just see him in the halls, it just I'm just like he's just. His wit is just boom, 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 boom. He's so it's gonna be a good day when you hear his voice booming down the halls.
How's it working with Kirsten Storms?
Oh, she's amazing. She is. I mean, honestly, I am kind of blown away by how awesome the cast and crew is there. Kirsten is so lovely. She was so I had a couple scenes with Perry and Cassandra, but my first big scene was I think my second day of working, and it was at Bobby's grave, and it was with Kirsten, and that was when the nerves really my first day I was fine, and then the second day was and I was like, oh cool, I've got this, and then my second day my nerves just shot up, and she was so loving and warm and kind, and I felt like I had really I was like, well, they must have made a huge mistake in casting me after that second day. And she was so lovely. And I think I think she knew how nervous I was because we had a scene in one of the scenes we hugged, and my heart was it was like a tambourine or I don't even know. And I'm sure she felt it. And so she was so warm right after that. Yeah.
Amazing. She's great.
Yeah.
All right, Van Hansis, it's so good to see you.
So good to see you as well, Michael. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Watch Van weekdays on ABC on General Hospital. We'll catch up again soon.
Yes, indeed.
We'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you.